Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Crypto Live League. Today, we have a very special episode on tap for you guys. We're going to be talking Tezos. We're going to be talking Edo, the protocol upgrade coming in the next few weeks for Tezos. And before we begin today's episode, I just want to thank our wonderful cast of speakers that we have with us today. We can start with Jonas Lamis, who is the founder of StakerDAO and TezosCommunity. We have also Mike Monohan, who is the founder of CryptoDelegate.com and Bazaar.market. And then we have myself, Ken Garofalo, and our co-host, Benton, Benton Yaun. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Great to be here. Yeah, thanks for getting the gang together. It's been a while since Mike and I got to do it.
Exactly. Apologies for the orange glow. It's strange lighting in here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to get the old crew back together and talk a little Tezos. I just want to introduce the website, cryptoliveleak.org, to the audience before we dive into Tezos today. And we have some very cool updates to the site that you guys may not have seen before. We've recently switched over to a premium content model where only CLL Insider members will view this premium content. I'm logged into the account right now, and you'll be able to see a little sneak peek of what it looks like if you have this membership. Actually just published an article earlier today about the Tezos Edo protocol upgrade, and it gives a little commentary and insights from my insider perspective. So if you guys want to view that and other really cool premium content, make sure to become a CLL Insider. Also, we are giving away a CLL Insider membership today. So be on the lookout for the keyword, which I will release at about 3:40 or so, right before we get into the last Edo topic. I'll give a keyword. You guys watching on Twitch will enter that keyword, and a Nightbot will select at random one winner from those of you who entered the keyword. So without further ado, Edo is the topic, but I want to give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves and your businesses before we dive in fully. So Jonas, why don't we start with you?
Great, thank you, Ken. Can I become a CLL Insider with crypto? Can I use crypto to subscribe?
You can book speaking slot on this channel with crypto, but you cannot buy the membership at this point with crypto. But that's in the works. Maybe in the next few weeks you could.
All right, let's get on that. Let's get on that. That'd be awesome. Awesome, thanks. Okay, so Jonas here, and main project I've been working on for the last year or so has been StakerDAO. StakerDAO is a cross-chain DeFi platform. We call it a cross-chain asset factory. So we've been building interesting products on different layer one networks and connecting those layer one networks together. Really just the big news from a Tezos perspective is that we launched a new product into beta called Wrapped Tez. And this is a pretty cool new token and system that's running on the Tezos blockchain on mainnet right now. And so essentially what Wrapped Tez does is it gives Tez holders a way to have, I hate to say it, have your cake and eat it too, essentially have your Tezos continue to generate staking rewards like you normally would. But for every Tez that you're holding in a Wrapped Tez vault, you also have a derivative version of those Tez called Wrapped Tez. And so with the Wrapped Tez token, it's a liquid FA 1.2 token on Tezos. Over time, you're going to be able to do things with that Wrapped Tez token. And so essentially, you lock your Tez in the vault. You pick your baker just like you normally would. You get your standard baker rewards. Every Tez that's in your vault generates a Wrapped Tez. The Wrapped Tez are liquid. You can move them about Tezos. There is a Dexter pool that's already started. So you could trade your Wrapped Tez for Tez and then potentially maybe buy some Wrapped Bitcoin or something with that if you wanted to, or you could become a liquidity provider for the Dexter pool and generate additional yield based on the trades that are happening in that pool. At the end of the day, your Tez is still acquiring its rewards through staking, but when you want to unlock your Tez that are in that vault, you bring your Wrapped Tez back, you deposit it back in the vault which burns it, and then that unlocks your Tez. So it's a pretty cool system. We expect DeFi to grow dramatically on Tezos over the coming months, and so we think there's going to be a lot more utility for people to use those wrap Tez on Tezos. Looking at the stats on TZ stats so far, it looks like there's about 271,000 wrapped Tez that have been wrapped in the last week or so since we launched the beta. So pretty excited about that. That's the latest here.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. We have also Mike Monohan, founder of CryptoDelegate.com and Bazaar.market. Mike, can you introduce us to yourself and then tell the audience a little bit about yourself as well?
Sure. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for the invite to join you. I started CryptoDelegate, which was the first Tezos delegation service. And so we announced before actually right at the tail end of the ICO. And kind of the early days of the Tezos community when Jonas was first setting up all of the Tezos community websites and events. So it was good times, and we've had a lot of fun watching and contributing to Tezos ecosystem growing and the delegation services blossoming as well. One of the things that makes CryptoDelegate a little bit unique is that we actually pay out before we even bake the blocks. So we pay out about 6 cycles early. So the moment that the future rewards are even announced, we calculate a amount to pay our clients, which is somewhere in excess of 2 weeks early. So it's provided some technical challenges, but it's also been very interesting trying to be a little bit different in the baking market. But overall, it's been an exciting ride, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Edo has for us and some of the great updates. It's also very nice to see that they're really rolling out a lot of advancements, really rolling out a lot of updates a lot more frequently, and a lot better communication a lot more frequently. So it's really exciting times in the Tezos world.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, guys, again, for joining us here today. You guys are heavyweights within the Tezos baking community and Tezos community in general. So we're glad to have you here for your insights on what is the Edo protocol here. So first, I want to note that this protocol was introduced by Nomadic Labs, and maybe just a brief discussion on Nomadic Labs themselves. And they seem to have become the lead core development team for the Tezos blockchain. And as I was reflecting back today, I wondered if this was a good thing to have such an expert team, or is it taking away from the decentralized nature that Tezos seems to want to pursue? There's a lot that goes into being a decentralized ecosystem. Specifically, we're speaking about the core development team. In your opinions, does it really matter if the core development team is not as decentralized as the rest of the ecosystem?
Well, I think I could start on that one. I think that it's an evolutionary process. I think that it's very important to have developers who are very, very knowledgeable about Tezos. A majority of the Nomadic Labs people have been around since the very beginning. A lot of them were very instrumental in launch. And so as time goes on, I think that we will see independent developers coming up with new, fresh ideas on where to take the Tezos protocol, and they'll submit a code. They'll ask for a certain invoice to be paid, and that process will really get rolling. But it just takes time for that to really kick in. And while that's kicking in, it's good to have a team of developers who are constantly rolling out very high quality, frequent updates. Like I said before, we're starting to see that happening more and more frequently, where the expectation is that the gap between updates is going to get less and less, which is a great thing to see.
Yeah, I would say that it's definitely been a really interesting evolutionary process to see how upgrades have happened to the Tezos blockchain since we launched it in the summer of 2018, 19?
Yep.
Which one was it?
18.
2.5 years ago, whatever that was. It's hard to keep track of this, but what started out as a small dev team grew pretty dramatically. Other dev teams joined, the guys at Cryptium Labs that became Metastable became a real key element for a while in the dev process. There were new teams that started contributing from elsewhere around the world. But we also saw this, dramatic kind of lengthening of the process to get something into the protocol. And so I feel like, as Mike said, we've kind of come full circle on that now, and we have a tighter development kind of set of contributors. But I believe that they are now going to pulse things out in a way that will really accelerate the protocol moving forward. So, I'm pretty happy with that. The one thing, if I could just throw one barb into the whole process, the one thing that I really feel like is missing so far on this is taking advantage of Tezos's on-chain funding mechanism. They're built into the protocol. Is the ability for developers to attach an invoice to the code that they're submitting for the upgrade. And when that code goes through its multi-step process and finally gets upgraded, the invoice is fulfilled by the blockchain minting new Tez to the address that was set up on the invoice. And that mechanism has always, in my mind, been the most beautiful way to drive awareness and adoption and excitement about working on the core protocol. If there was an invoice that went through for Sapling, for example, to start bringing privacy to Tezos, and it had a $1 million, or let's say a 250,000 Tez invoice attached to it, I think the community would approve it. I think the bakers would get behind it. And at the end of the day, the story to all of crypto would be so large. Here's a community that's funding the development of its activity through its own on-chain control, not coming from some foundation, not coming from some off-chain Gitcoin grant model, but being done directly on-chain. And for a variety of reasons, it just seems like the core developers have not been able to generate the willpower to submit a large invoice for that. And so that's the one thing I really would like to see them doing going forward.
Yeah, on that point, I think that there's a little bit of a hesitation sometimes to invest a lot of time and effort on code that you're not 100% sure that you're going to get paid on. So I think that there might be in the future some sort of a mechanism that says, here are some ideas for updates. If I wrote this code for Sapling, would you pay X, as a blockchain? And then that would give people directional guidance saying, okay, well, at least we know that the demand is out there for a certain type of code. And we know that the amount to be paid is approximately X because it's already been kind of pre-vetted. And then that would allow people to go off and write the code, spend a tremendous amount of time and effort, making sure that the code is workable, so they can submit their proposal and their invoice with relative confidence that it's going to be approved and that their time wasn't wasted. So I think there's a potential gap there. I think
not only that, but I had some good conversations with the Cryptium team a while back, I guess Metastable team now, about the notion that they could actually sell futures to fund development with a yield coming from the blockchain to repay those people with interest if the project was accepted, right? So there's some really interesting on-chain DAO-based models that could be deployed here, but I think we need to see just any invoice go through that has significant funds attached to it, even if it's to nomadic. I'm voting for it because I want to see the world know that model exists.
Yeah, I think it's important for developers out there to know you can get paid by Tezos, that you can work on an exciting blockchain, you can come up with innovation, and you can actually get paid for it. It's not like you're just going to be volunteering your time. You're not putting in an update in the hopes that your bag of Tez is going to be worth more because of your efforts. You're going to be paid directly from the greater pool and overall dilution for your efforts. And I think it's also important for the current holders of Tez to know that the amount of dilution is very, very minimal. So if somebody puts in a a 200,000 Tez protocol upgrade, it's going to dilute every single person a very, very small amount, but it could have a very large impact on the overall usability, expandability, and value of the overall Tezos. So it's going to be a lot more valuable to everyone to see the blockchain widely used with even just a small amount of overall dilution.
Yeah, I think you guys are making fantastic points there. The PR effort behind a $1 million value invoice would be far more worthwhile than the dilution that it would occur to the rest of the holders, right? So you have to sort of weigh those in your mind. And also the point Jonas made about a developer having sort of the brass to actually put that invoice attached with their code in the proposal. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but as they introduce proposal during the proposal period, that code is now viewable to anyone. So if they don't get approved, someone else could theoretically copy that code, make adjustments, modifications, resubmit it with a lower invoice. If it doesn't get approved the next cycle, when we get reset back to a proposal period, let's say. So there's a risk of their work going unfunded, I guess you could say, is why they maybe wouldn't want to attach this million XTZ or this $500,000 XTZ invoice along with the code. Is that something that makes sense, or am I going a little off here?
I mean, yes, in theory, but a lot of people in blockchain don't want to think of blockchain as a startup. Like, they don't imagine that they're actually a startup competing with other startups. They want to think they have this immutable thing that, yes, it will live forever, but if nobody uses it, it's not going to live much of a life, right? And so, like, the experiments like this really should be run. I think the value of it, like you say, Ken, far outweighs the risk of something like that happening in the early days. Let's hope we get to a problem where so many invoices are flowing through and so much code is being written that somebody decides they want to steal it and redeploy it for cheaper, and the community wants to get behind that, right?
Yeah. I think that the community also has a sense of fairness as well. I don't think that your average baker or the community members are going to tolerate a race to the bottom on scandalous code behavior. I think that we want to see good, solid development, and we want to see repeat developers writing more and more code. If you have a very brilliant set of developers come up with a chunk of code, and as a community we allow someone else just to steal it, undercut it for a few bucks, well, that brilliant group of devs, they're not going to write version 2. They're not going to write the LMNO version of Tezos. And so we want repeat developers coming back over and over again, and we want entire teams of people making a career out of making their getting paid on their invoice for Tezos and developing.
Unfortunately, it's a catch-22 right now, though, because Nomadic, which is a bunch of brilliant developers who have launched some amazing code, as we're going to talk about here shortly, they're funded directly by the foundation. And because of that, they rightly are saying, well, we shouldn't be submitting invoices, right? And so if no one submits an invoice, the independent dev community is not going to learn about this opportunity. And so we're going to kind of still be in level 1 of this opportunity.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think it would be good to see either a transition or just a full leap of faith for them to submit their invoice to the blockchain instead of sending it to the foundation. Now, one of the things that's been mentioned, I think even Arthur mentioned in a video recently, the concept of putting together a smart contract where funds are deposited into this smart contract as a way of transitioning to the invoice model. The foundation can put some funds in. Part of the invoice gets paid from inflation. As maybe kind of a way of weaning off of the drug that is the Tezos Foundation massive war chest that they have. And I think that could work. Or we could just pull the plug altogether and just say, okay, everyone should just submit invoices from now on, and let's just tear the Band-Aid off and use the blockchain upgrade feature the way it was originally designed. I think that would encourage a lot of other developers to have the confidence to submit their own code and their own invoice.
Yeah, I mean, this is some great discussion here. And for anyone in the audience watching, if you have any questions for Jonas, Mike, or myself, feel free to just write them in whatever platform you're watching the stream on, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, DLive, just go ahead. And it looks like we actually do have a question here. I'm going to bring this up on the screen, guys, so you can see it. So the question comes from mainly mobiles here. What are your thoughts on exchanges becoming large custodians of XTZ and not participating in the voting process and influencing quorum during these protocol updates?
I've always thought that since day one that it was going to be the exchanges that were going to have a massive amount of ownership. I would encourage people to not store your crypto, any crypto, for long periods of time on any exchange. We've seen in the past that no matter how secure you think an exchange is, it seems like there's a hack every few months and funds are gone. And I do live by the old adage of, not your keys, not your crypto. That's why they have, good hardware wallets that you can do. That's why you can hold on to your Tez, for example, and delegate without ever sending a single Tez to anybody. You still have full custodial access to your funds. And so I would just encourage from the client side, don't store your Tez or your crypto on an exchange for long periods of time. That's a bit too risky for my blood. Now, when it comes to the influence that these exchanges have, I haven't really seen them push their weight around a lot. I'm sure it is a risk, but it seems that they've got a lot of other things to worry about. And more often than not, they tend to pass on a lot of the votes, essentially pushing the weight of the vote back to the independent bakers. But I could see it as a problem. I think that the moment that you saw a lot of exchanges pushing their weight around, it would have negative impacts on the overall value of the token, and therefore it would have negative impacts on the exchange. So there's kind of a give and take, that the more that they try to manipulate a chain, the less the chain's worth, and then the less their value is worth. So I doubt that they're going to push all that hard. Simple economics will keep them.
Yeah, but I would push back on you a little bit, Mike, and say that I don't think that a large holder of Tez, be it an exchange or a whale or whatever the case is, trying to advocate for some stance is necessarily manipulation of the chain, right? It's part of the way our protocol works. Is there's a series of checks and balances and thresholds that need to be met for proposals to get approved, and clearly we just talked about how complex it is even to get a proposal submitted. So I'm much more worried about an exchange like not voting at all, not passing, not voting yes or no, and then a quorum not being reached because of that. That's the good thing is the protocol adjusts the quorum levels to account for that over time, but it slows things down. I think what we need is more excitement and controversy, perhaps even about protocol submissions over time than less, right? I think we got a good process down now. I'm happy to let Nomadic lead the charge here and run a series of upgrades from a technical perspective here, but I would love to see, proposals about marketing, for example, flowing through the system. And I'd love to see on-chain funding, maybe be what Arthur proposed or others flowing through the system. I think those are second level concepps that are could potentially really make Tezos an interesting platform going forward.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I was just the point I was making was I hear a lot of people talking about whenever you have a lot of exchanges, there's the potential that for some reason they're going to vote that only in a method that only benefits exchanges. And I doubt that they would do that. I doubt that they would really get together and vote for something that only benefits exchanges, because then it would actually hurt the overall chain, and then people would see less value in the blockchain overall. I think so. There's a certain balance of economics that aligns everybody's interest. Everybody wants to see the chain be successful. They want to see the value go up. They want to see the trust in the blockchain maintained. So I just doubt that there's going to be that big of a problem. I think the main problem is that people should hold on to their own crypto. They should hold on to their own keys as just a matter of good practice.
Right. And again, great points that you guys are making. I think the biggest point is that everyone's incentives are aligned if they're holding the asset. So why would an exchange be malicious against the chain if it's going to affect their bottom line? So they won't. So that answers the question there for mainly mobiles. Before we get into the next audience question, I just wanted to briefly introduce the current governance process of Tezos. So this is from the article I just pushed out on the CryptoLiveLeak.org site, premium content. It's also been pushed out on the Twitter account. But I'm just going to briefly introduce the 4 periods and a little description of them, and then we can sort of discuss the process itself. If you think it's too long and drawn out, not long enough, if the testing period is not long enough, some general commentary from you guys. So first we have a proposal period. So now all these periods last about 21 days, about 3 weeks roughly. Proposal period is the first period in the process where a baker can submit a proposal on chain. I believe it is a single baker can submit up to 20 proposals per proposal period. There is a vote that happens, and the single most popular proposal goes into the exploration period, where again bakers may vote on the top ranked proposal from the previous proposal period. If this certain quorum is met, it goes on to the testing period, which is where Ito currently just entered. It just entered, I think, one of the first days of the testing period. And this is where a testnet fork runs in parallel to the main network for 48 hours. This is used to determine whether the proposal is a worthy amendment to the protocol and ensures the upgrade does not corrupt the blockchain network. Lastly, we have the promotion period. So this is at the end of the testing period. The promotion period begins. This is when the network decides on whether or not to adopt the amendment based on off-chain discussions and its behavior during the testing period. So this is, again, where the bakers can come in and submit votes using the ballot option. And again, the weight of each baker's votes depends on the number of rolls in their staking ballots. So that is what we are currently dealing with for the governance cycle. Now, it is important to note, as we see with Ito, is that this cycle, this process itself can actually be amended during one of these protocol upgrades. So with the way it currently stands, do you think there's any flaws with it? Is it efficient? Is it nice that we're seeing basically one of the only predictable governance models that exists within the space? What are your comments on this?
So I think it's a real positive model for us so far to have understood process for changes to flow through Tezos. I think that the timing is not a bad feature from my perspective. I think that the bigger issue was that we went for many cycles without any proposals flowing through. So it was more about the engineering strategy to how they wanted to package up elements. With Nomadic's recent pronouncements of getting on a pace to deliver potential upgrades on every cycle, making less major changes at any one time would be great for us bakers, because there were a couple of major releases that went through that really made the baking ecosystem have to snap to it, figure out how to handle the changes. Couple ugly upgrade days in there, mostly in the earlier days. So I feel like that's running well now. I do like the notion of there being a new fifth phase, which is going to let smart contract developers and others who have built things on top of Tezos upgrade their contracts before the approved protocol changes go live. That's going to be really important as we see more and more smart contract usage on Tezos.
Yeah, I'm fairly happy with the current setup. I think it could be rebalanced a little bit in timing. I think that the proposal time period probably doesn't need to be that long. Certain elements like testing, I think that you could justify having that be longer in the expense of having one of the other ones be a bit shorter. I don't know why we need so long to submit proposals. Everybody should be ready to submit a proposal, and within a few days it's submitted, and then we pick the right one. But then give more time back to the ones that are actually important, which is testing and smart contract integration and things of that nature. So I could see a future where the overall length maybe is about the same, maybe slightly shorter, but then within the proposal time period, you see that the different stages are rebalanced a little bit.
Excellent, guys. So before we get into the actual benefits of the upcoming Ito proposal, there's 5 distinct benefits we're going to be discussing. I just want to give the audience a chance to enter the keyword now for the giveaway, the CLL membership. This is going to be in our Twitch account. So if you guys go to Twitch.
Hey guys.
twitch.tv/crypto-live-leak and enter !CLL insider. That's capital CLL, capital I for insider. And you'll have a chance to win this free CLL membership. I will announce the winner at the end of this show here. So enter this keyword now, guys. So next, we're going to transition into Ito itself and what are these key benefits. So again, I'm going to be pulling this from the article I just published on CryptoLiveLeak.org, and we're going to dive into exactly what these benefits are. So this is all outlined basically from the Tezos Agora website. There is a specific post made by Nomadic Labs that dives into all this, and it gives some more references too if you guys want to look more into the documentation. But first, I guess we can group these two together, since I don't know how much knowledge we have on the exact bug fixes that are going to be introduced with Ito, but specifically, there's going to be bug fixes as a first benefit, and then secondly, performance of gas costs. So additional improvements to the performance of gas costs, not as extreme as what we saw with Delphi. I believe Delphi improved gas costs burn rate by over 75%. So this is going to be slightly less than that. But again, full details are available on their documentation page. Again, all this detail is listed on CryptoLiveLeak.org. So I know DeFi is a hot topic right now, and we need cheaper gas costs in order for the smaller investors to really participate in some of the DeFi products and platforms that are coming out. With Ethereum, at one point we saw back at the end of last year, gas costing for a single transaction, over $50 per transaction. That's insane. With Tezos, the current cost of a transaction is far less. Just simply sending Tez, you can pay less than a penny for a transaction like that. Interacting with the smart contract, I'm assuming it's a little bit more. But in regards to bug fixes and gas costs, what do you guys think is going to be the benefit of those by the Ito protocol introducing those two benefits?
Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say that I don't know the exact specifics of which bugs that they're fixing. I do know that occasionally we see some endorsement misses. Occasionally there's a block miss here or there, but overall the blockchain is fairly stable. I'd imagine that a lot of the bug fixes are probably in the smart contract writing and in the actual libraries and code itself. So for people who are doing hardcore coding and smart contract writing, I'm sure that it's very advantageous. When it comes to the gas cost, yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. If you want to expand a blockchain into the DeFi world, you want to have smart contracts interacting with each other and interacting with oracles and running real financial systems. You need to have a lot of volume going through the blockchain, a lot of volume going through the smart contracts, and that means that gas costs start to stack up very, very quickly. And we saw, years ago with Bitcoin and all the transaction fees going up, that we saw Bitcoin splintering off into other forks, largely because of fees and because of speed. And if a blockchain doesn't figure out how to solve that problem very quickly and be very financially beneficial to its users and be very fast, people are going to go somewhere else. They're simply going to create a different blockchain, or they're going to use a different service. So it's great to see that Tezos is being very proactive in all of these fronts to plan for the future, to plan for future DeFi, to plan for future speed and capabilities that are not yet needed today, but will be tomorrow and the day after.
Yeah, I would say from our perspective, the Delphi gas cost reduction was really dramatic when we were testing out our wrapped Tez vault contracts. Each time a new user originates a vault in order to wrap Tez from their Galleon wallet, for example, there is a meaningful gas cost associated with that, but now it's only less than 25 cents equivalent essentially to generate that, versus it being I think it was $1 plus when we first wrote the contracts before Delphi had rolled out. So yeah, it's a big upgrade. It's going to be very useful for people to do real things on Tezos.
That's interesting. So you did notice the 75% reduction in gas costs interacting with that smart contract, and specific, already cheap at $1, but now it's even cheaper at 25 cents. So
yeah,
really,
definitely.
and I mean, you're not going to be able to have DeFi on Tezos. There's no attraction to switch over from Ethereum unless it is this cheaper gas cost, right? Or more collateral, which isn't the case at this point. So you're trying to attract more users from a cheaper gas cost. It makes it easier to use the Tezos blockchain, and it's more practical for mainstream adoption. So getting into the next benefit, it is the adoption period. So this is where we mentioned earlier that this is the Tezos governance process actually undergoing an upgrade itself. So the adoption period is referred to as the 5th period, and it's an important improvement that Nomadic has been wanting to make to the governance mechanism from some time now. And I believe this is the first ever change to the governance process itself since it was introduced. So under the new system, instead of 4 periods of 8 cycles during voting, Nomadic has proposed 5 periods of 5 cycles. With the 5th period, the adoption period, we'll have 5 cycle, approximately 2 weeks, a gap between the adoption of the new protocol and the time when it is activated. So the whole goal of this is to aid in assuring seamless protocol transitions. Now, this is something you guys might be better apt to speak on, since you have to update, you are public bakers, you'd have to update the protocol you're running when a new protocol gets implemented. Maybe you want to talk about that transition process, the way it currently works, and how the new process, how you see that working.
Yeah, I think that the new process is really, really important. Jonas, remind me of it. I think it was Babylon. I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast, and all the bakers were all basically waiting for it to roll over. And was it going to work? Was it not going to work? And I think it froze for a little while, and everybody was stressing out. So there's definitely a need that has been largely fixed. It hasn't been that way for a while, but having a little bit more time to roll things over, to make sure that all the systems work, to have all the new rules of the new protocol go into place for all of our systems and tools is very important. It means that ideally you'll see a lot fewer bakers kind of go offline in the first few hours of a new protocol cycle. Traditionally, you'll see oftentimes, 90% of the bakers will go over with no problem, but then you'll see a bunch of bakers basically go offline, and on TZ stats, all their blocks go red. And I don't think that's, you see a bunch of people picking up stolen blocks, but it's not overall healthy for the ecosystem. What you really want is you want to be able to roll from one protocol amendment to the next, completely seamless. Everybody is ready. All systems have been updated and tested, and it works flawlessly. And I think that this new portion of the protocol upgrade achieves that. And one thing that I think is super, super important, not only does Tezos have a self-amending process, but it has a self-amendment to the amendment process, which I think is oftentimes underappreciated in the blockchain world. And not only can you have a bunch of independent groups come together and vote for amendments, but you can actually change the fundamental structure of the amendment process itself if everybody agrees to do it. And that's what's going to take the blockchain into the future, the next generation and the generation after. It's that type of flexibility that makes Tezos unique amongst all the other blockchains out there.
Yeah, I second that, Mike. You did a great job of explaining the value proposition there.
Excellent, guys. And again, just bringing in one more time the article here. So the next benefit is sapling. This is the one that we are probably all most excited about. This is the privacy feature, privacy layer. So sapling is a protocol originally developed by the Electric Coin Company for the Zcash product, which implements shielded transactions. And a little quote here from Nomadic: "Our proposal allows smart contract developers to easily integrate sapling in their smart contracts and create privacy-conscious applications. Because Tezos can be amended, it was possible for us to add this exciting new feature directly to Tezos itself." So this is actually really cool. I remember hearing before it was either the Minister of Finance in France or some high-ranking government official in France saying that they would not consider using a public blockchain for a central bank digital currency unless there was a privacy layer involved. And I think that Sapling was directly integrated with that in mind, that specific use case in mind. Central bank digital currencies and the need for some sort of privacy shielded transaction for these central and federal banks to operate within. So this is a big topic here, probably a lot to digest, but some commentary on Sapling. Jonas, if you want to go ahead and start.
Yeah, I think this is a really timely topic, right? We've just in the last couple of days, the last couple of weeks, there have been some major moves on both privacy and on, stablecoin currencies used by banks. On the privacy side, some of the core privacy, some of the core privacy chains are being delisted on some U.S.-based exchanges. Zcash and Monero and others are getting delisted by, I think it was Bittrex and by Coinbase if they were listed there, because of I would believe primarily pressure from the U.S. government because of its inability to track transactions through those things. At the same time, we have the OCC yesterday announcing that it was going to allow U.S. banks to use stable coins as a method of funds transfer, and also was going to allow banks to run nodes, run validators even, in order to help manage public blockchains. And so with those two things together, I think Tezos puts itself in a really great position. The notion that privacy with Sapling can be fine-grained, a specific dApp that runs on top of Tezos can take advantage of Sapling and can shield the movement of funds within that dApp in a way that prohibits external viewers from seeing who has what, but still allows users within the dApp to manage that effectively, and would allow an auditor within who has access to the dApp to be able to audit things as it desires, without revealing that information publicly, is a huge gain here, and exactly what big business is going to want, what people who want to manage security tokens are going to want, and certainly what central banks, it sounds like they need as well.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the key elements to it, like you said, is that it's not for everything. So it's not like once this turns on, the whole blockchain becomes a private and everything is shielded. It's you can have certain elements of it that are private and other elements that are running very similar to how they are now. And one of the things that also kind of people need to realize is that this is really, really difficult stuff. The Sapling integration in a blockchain that wasn't originally written for it is very, very hard. And usually what happens is that if a blockchain even attempts to do something like this, they have to fork off, they have to convince the community that they should all move all their thoughts and finances to the other blockchain and then abandon the old one. And the fact that Tezos is able to integrate Sapling into the current chain and everybody's on board with it, again, speaks to what we were talking about before about its evolutionary feature, that if something so difficult as Sapling can be integrated and everybody is still on the same chain and everybody is on board, that means that the next generation and the next generation after that can also be implemented. And a lot of other blockchains are having an incredibly hard time with even the most basic flip from proof of work to proof of stake, for example. That type of change requires a lot of buy-off from miners who actually hold the power in a proof of stake world or a proof of work world. It takes a lot of conflicting interests to align, which oftentimes never happens. And so the fact that Tezos can do this at all with a very complicated technology like Sapling is a real testament to the future ability for Tezos to grow and evolve.
Yeah, I know this has been something that has been talked about for for months, if not years, and to see that it's implemented in less than a 4-month window here with the formalized governance process speaks volumes. If you look at ETH 2.0 and what they're doing, they've outlined basically a 2-year roadmap that's going to require a lot of buy-in and basically billions of dollars at risk to transition to their next phase. So Tezos could have upgraded 4 times over before they're halfway done with their transition. So it just goes to show exactly what kind of technology and how advanced it is and what we're dealing with here. And it's really interesting to see the kind of use cases that come out of Sapling being integrated. Before we get into the last benefit, I'm going to ask another question here from the audience. I think this is a good question from mainly mobiles, just because of the timing of what we just went over for benefit. What are your general thoughts on the level of marketing within Tezos? And I'll say specifically, why isn't a bigger deal being made of Ito and the Sapling integration? This seems like it should be plastered all over every single news publication within the crypto space and beyond, right? There should be an announcement in Forbes. There should be, Times. Everyone should be speaking about this, right? We know how impactful it is, but others don't seem to. So what are your general thoughts on Tezos marketing as asked by mainly mobiles here?
Well, I think Jonas is the marketer in the group.
Go for it, Jonas.
I spent too much time complaining about Tezos marketing. Yeah, I mean, I think that Tezos has definitely has been the the understated blockchain of its class. It's been the one that delivers delivers what it says it's going to deliver and does it in a very unassuming way. There's a lot of marketing hype in the blockchain space, and Tezos suffers from quite a deficit of hype. I'd be really happy to see some kind of community-led marketing effort that could generate funding from some kind of on-chain proposal. I think that'd be really neat to have the community explore. Maybe every proposal we've seen so far has been for a code upgrade, but I think that a developer, with the help of a developer, you could write a proposal to fund some sort of DAO or multi-sig or ticket-based system, as we're going to be talking about soon, to allow a wider group of Tezos stakeholders to control an on-chain treasury of funds that could be deployed to marketing. I think that creates a really pretty story for the ecosystem and a very practical way to have funds available to market all the good stuff that's going on in Tezos without any central organization, be it the foundation or TQ or anyone else, being on the hook to be responsible for delivering that marketing message, and frankly also be on the hook for whatever compliance, legal, or regulatory overhead they might consider exists for delivering a marketing message about a blockchain project. So I think there's ways to do it. There's here and there have been a little bit of buzz now and then about trying to put something like that together. I'm not aware of anybody taking it too seriously yet, but I'd love to see somebody jump in and champion that.
Yeah, I think one of the things, I would say that just about everybody agrees to some extent that Tezos has been under-marketed. But I think it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that for a certain amount of investment, you get a certain result in marketing. And it's just not true. There's a very, very fast diminishing returns when it comes to marketing. We see all the time crypto projects, being decaled on the side of a Lamborghini, and you see a billboard in some baseball game somewhere. And I don't think that that's what drives people's, that might drive a very temporary bump in the price because a bunch of people go online and try to pump and dump or something. But it doesn't actually drive the usage of the blockchain and the development of the software. And so I think that when it comes to marketing, I would like to see more efforts to educate the development community and the DApp developers and users on why they should use Tezos over the competition, why they should develop on Tezos. You can earn a living, you can actually make money. Why is Tezos a better blockchain for the next generation of decentralized finance applications? Make the case. That's the type of marketing I would like to see, because that's the type of results that will end up with exponential gains in driving adoption of Tezos, because that's ultimately the goal. It's not to have an extra $1 billion come in and simply buy the token and have an empty chain. That might have a temporary financial benefit, but it's not going to have a long-term value benefit. And so I think that what Jonas said is very important. Invest in the community, invest in the underlying factors that will actually help Tezos be a long-term going concern, as opposed to a short-term, price mechanism.
Yeah. I think, Mike, it's a really good perspective. And in my mind, I'm probably still stuck in 2018, 2019 marketing world, right? Where you put your logo on America's Cup yacht, or like you said, on a Formula One car or whatever. And I don't think that's certainly not what I would want Tezos to spend its money on either. I feel like before Ethereum went through its DeFi cycle that it's in right now, there were lots of great, compelling reasons why you wanted everybody in the world to know about Tezos, because it had this proof of stake system, it had this reward generating capability. Proof of stake was new. That ship has sailed now, I think. There's lots of proof of stake systems out there. Now the battle is more about what are people building on top of these layer one networks that are going to drive transactions and volume over time. The fact that something like Compound, which had such a successful launch on Ethereum, has now come out and said, hey, we're building cross-chain, right? We're going to be building on Tezos. It sounds like they mentioned it in their white paper, and other chains, is interesting. It's certainly where StakerDAO believes the world is going, which is this cross-chain connectivity as well. But that also means it's less important about marketing just your chain, but it's more about the apps that run on your chain.
That's right. Yeah, I think that you'll see a lot of synergy. I don't think one blockchain will ever take over the world, but you will see a trimming effect of blockchains that know how to evolve and know how to play well with others, essentially. Those are going to be the ones that will kind of stake out a certain area within the ecosystem, while the other ones kind of slowly fade because they weren't able to evolve. They weren't able to design themselves around the next version of DeFi that we don't even know right now. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are theorizing what's going to happen in 10 years, 15 years from now, but we don't really know. The only thing that we do know is that it will change. The ecosystem will change, the technology will change, and the requirements will change. So which blockchain out there has the ability to evolve? Which one has shown the proven ability to integrate very, very difficult concepts in a fairly seamless way? Ultimately, those are the ones that will survive, because the only thing consistent is change.
Right. And I think you guys made some good points earlier when you were talking about the invoicing for a protocol upgrade and what that would do in terms of publicity and marketing for the chain if it was a very high number for a developer to be paid for an invoice for a protocol upgrade. So you have to think more creative ways when it comes to marketing. It's not advertising, it's marketing, right? So could it be developer onboarding and developer relations as a form of marketing? That's what we think at Block Relations, where we've proposed a solution that includes developer tutorials, educational courses, with the goals of bringing more people onto Tezos to build actual products to show others, hey, look what's possible. And the first thing I search on YouTube, how to build a Twitch clone with Tezos comes up instead of with Ethereum. If you go out there and search, how to build all these different applications, the first thing that comes up in your search results is going to be on Ethereum as the leading blockchain, right? So why isn't there any other content out there that shows developers how to build using Tezos? So that, I think, is going to be a major key going forward in regards to marketing. But enough on marketing. Let's talk about the last benefit here for Edo. I also want to remind the audience watching, ask your questions. If you got questions for Jonas and Mike, ask them here. They'll be able to give you guys some insider perspective. And then also, we are giving away a CLL Insider membership, which is about a $40 value. You got to go to our Twitch account. This is a Crypto Live League Twitch, and then you just got to enter !CLL Insider. No one's done it yet, So the first person to do it will win the membership, guys. So don't be lazy. The links are all in the chat. But bringing up here,
I gotta go to Twitch. 1 second.
There you go.
No cheating, John.
Win it if no one comments. So the last benefit here, guys, as Jonas signs up and enters the keyword on Twitch, is tickets. So tickets are a convenient mechanism for smart contracts to grant portable permissions to other smart contracts or to issue tokens. While it's possible to achieve this with existing programmable patterns, tickets make it much easier for developers to write secure and composable contracts. So you guys may have more knowledge on this than I, so I will leave it to you to further explain and give your take on how tickets will benefit Tezos and Tezos smart contract development.
I'll say Jonas is more the smart contract expert, so they're building them out as we speak.
Yeah. So yeah, sure. I was asking around on Twitter the other day for ideas that people had on how they were going to use tickets, and there was a lot of commentary that came in from various points across the developer community on Tezos. People are very excited about this functionality. And I feel like I'm pretty much a novice on it conceptually, but I would describe it as the ability to take any type of asset or process that you've built a smart contract for, and to be able to have kind of fine-grained or granular control over different elements of that process with a type of token that can be passed around amongst people. So, for example, I'll give you an example on Ethereum that I'm a part of that I think would be really a great rebuild on Tezos with tickets. I am a member of a DAO on Ethereum that is called Flamingo DAO. It's at flamingo.xyz. And what Flamingo DAO does is it's a group of about 40 or 50 investors who have all pooled a significant amount of ETH in order to acquire NFT tokens, non-fungible tokens on Ethereum, primarily art, but also gaming tokens and virtual land. And the DAO itself has a treasury of Ethereum, and the community votes on the projects that it wants to purchase, and it goes out and it buys that, and then those NFT tokens are held by the DAO for the community. Now imagine, that's cool, and so I have an ownership stake in this DAO with my share, but imagine if the DAO could then turn around and instantly shard those NFT tokens so that I could own my particular share of each of those with the percentage of funds that I put into the DAO as a percentage. And I think that's exactly what we could build with tickets, right? We could create a way for a Tezos-based DAO to acquire Tezos-based NFTs tokens that hopefully are going to emerge here. We're going to see some NFT marketplaces coming out. And then the ownership of any of those NFT tokens would be held on tickets across a variety of people and a variety of wallets. And those wallets could then sell their ownership, their slice of any of those things by transferring the ticket to someone else. I think that would be a really cool way to generate, massive ownership and trading of NFT tokens as a way to feature this product.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that tokens really do is it allows for a lot. I don't know if it's more seamless, but it's a lot more controllable interaction between smart contracts themselves. So you can have smart contracts that have rules that are set up to whether or not, based on certain criteria, they're allowed to interact with another smart contract or spin up a smart contract that starts and stops based on certain criteria. And it just, it's all possible now, like it says on the site you just read, but having tickets makes it a lot more seamless. So you can have a whole wide range of interactions that are essentially controlled by the smart contract itself, because the ticket itself controls a lot of the rules and permissions of how they interact with each other. And that's just going to open up a lot of possibilities for value creation and creation of new services that are automated or largely automated, and create new value. And if Tezos is one of the first ones to do it, again, if developers realize that it's easier to develop on Tezos, they can make a living on it, they can build a dApp that creates even more value. Ideally, this becomes kind of an exponential development process where the value accrues within Tezos, but also developers themselves, become well-known and wealthy based on their own efforts by developing on Tezos. I think that's very important that people should realize, that all these developments that are happening are also accrued to the benefit of developers coming to the Tezos ecosystem, bringing your brilliant ideas, launching that really cool app or DeFi project that has been in your mind for less gas costs, more funds in your pocket because you got an invoice that you submitted, knowledge that future advancement on the blockchain is going to happen because we have a track record of updating. These are all compelling reasons why people should be giving Tezos a serious thought for the next project.
Well said. We can almost quote that and retweet that later. But I think it's clear that this is going to be a major benefit to the Tezos ecosystem, this Edo protocol here. And in conclusion, if you guys want to just give me a conclusive summary on your thoughts of this upgrade, and where you see maybe the future going after this. And Mike, if you want to start for us.
Sure. Yeah, I think Edo is a great upgrade. I think that the tickets obviously are great. For me, though, the excitement of Edo is not necessarily in Edo itself. It's the mechanism that Edo represents. It's the fact that you can actually amend an amendment process, that you can evolve evolution, essentially. And you could have had Edo just be the change to the amendment process, and it would still be groundbreaking because it would show exponential evolution ability. And everything after that becomes better and better and better because we've shown that it can be done today. So, I'm looking forward a lot to the newfound vigor of pumping out more and more updates more frequently. I like the fact that we've been seeing people like Arthur making more videos and tweeting more, and it just more excitement seems to be building in the Tezos ecosystem, which I think is really, really great, and I hope to see it continue in perpetuity. So,
I would say that the Edo timing is pretty perfect for where the market's going. The combination of sapling and tickets, I think, is very strategic. It's designed to allow larger organizations to be able to take advantage of the Tezos blockchain in a secure and private way with fine-grained controls over the applications that they want to build. That's kind of the two pieces together there, while running on a permissionless layer 1 network. I think that I hope that a lot of the activity that's going on behind the scenes with the foundation, with TQ, and with others, it has all been leading to see this release come out and to see a wave of large institutions, government agencies, and whatnot to start dropping projects, alpha, beta releases onto Tezos in 2021. I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. I don't have the insider knowledge on that, but it seems to me that would be what I would see happening in the background here with these releases. So I think it's an opportunity for Tezos to be really big in the years ahead here. I do think we continue to need to tell the story to the rest of the blockchain world to get them to start building stuff on Tezos and come our way. We have a cool platform and we have tacos.
Yep.
And we have tacos. This is Taco Tuesday after all, or Tezos Tuesday, right? So Before we close here today, I'll give you guys an opportunity to make closing statements. I want to announce we do have a winner of the CLL Insider membership. Someone actually did comment the right keyword, and the Nightbot has selected the winner. So congratulations to SMARCIL, Smarsil. You have won the giveaway. If you would please send an email to contactus@cryptoliveleak.com with your name and information, and we will provide you instructions on how to redeem your CLL Insider membership. Again, that is contactus@cryptoliveleak.com. So thank you so much for participating in that, guys. Oh, there we go. There's the update. It is one of us that has won the CLL.
I'm kidding. I'm not really careful.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so you guys are again, bakers within the Tezos community. We have Jonas with Tezos Capital and Mike with CryptoDelegate. You can find these guys on Twitter. They're very active, very good follows. I want to thank you guys so much for joining our show today, Crypto Live Leak. Of course, anyone watching, please follow us and give this video a like, share, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. We're on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we're on there. So search for the handle @CryptoLiveLeak. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. Any closing statements?
No, thanks for having us. It was fun.
Give Tezos a try. You won't regret it.
Give Tezos a try, guys. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.